Mara adjusted the collar of her uniform as the shuttle descended toward Zowler Prime, the capital of the alien empire. She had been to many worlds in her career as a human diplomat, but this was the first time she felt the weight of history on her shoulders. The aliens of Zowler were not only powerful but extremely proud. And humans were rare in this part of the galaxy. Most aliens saw humans as weak, fragile, and not worth serious attention. Mara had long known that humans' real strength was their unpredictability, their ability to adapt, and their resilience, but she wondered if she could make the aliens see it too. The shuttle doors opened, and the airlock hissed. Mara stepped onto the platform and immediately felt the difference. The city stretched before her, like a living crystal. Towers shimmered in multiple colors, their surfaces shifting like liquid metal under the sunlight. Flying transports zipped between the buildings, leaving streaks of light in their wake. Mara's translator device kept up with the constant chatter in alien languages, but she found herself paying more attention to the expressions and gestures, trying to understand not just the words but the intent behind them. Waiting for her at the landing platform was a tall, alien figure, his skin a dark blue and his head elongated in a way that seemed almost aerodynamic. His eyes glowed faintly, and he wore the uniform of a high-ranking officer. "Welcome, Ambassador Mara," he said, his voice smooth and precise. "I am Commander Valen. The Queen awaits you." Mara inclined her head respectfully. "Thank you, Commander. I hope my visit strengthens the peace between our people." "This is Ability 1-2. About S. Quelled. 1 Quelders of the blows." Valen's eyes narrowed slightly. "We shall see, human. The Queen is cautious but fair. Come, follow me." The shuttle lifted away, leaving Mara in a moving convoy of vehicles that glided over the city. As they moved, she caught glimpses of citizens going about their lives, some resembling humans in shape, though their features were clearly alien, while others were more exotic, with multiple limbs or glowing patterns on their skin. Mara marveled at the diversity, and she realized how little she truly knew about these worlds. Finally, the convoy arrived at the palace. Unlike anything Mara had seen before, it was a sprawling complex of crystal, metal, and energy fields. The walls seemed alive, pulsing gently, and lights traced along the floors in intricate patterns. At the center stood a throne room, enormous and open, with a high ceiling that reflected the sky above. At the far end, seated on a throne of what appeared to be living metal, was Queen Thalira. She was taller than any human, her skin a soft lavender that shimmered in the light, and her eyes were golden with a piercing intensity. She watched Mara with curiosity and mild skepticism. "Ambassador Mara," the Queen's voice resonated through the hall. "You come from a small, fragile species. Yet, here you are, walking into the heart of our empire. Speak, and tell me why we should consider your people equals." Mara stepped forward, her voice steady though her heart raced. "Your Majesty, humans may seem fragile, but we endure and adapt. We have faced challenges that would have destroyed stronger species, and we continue to thrive. I come here not to boast, but to find common ground, to build a relationship that benefits both our peoples." The Queen tilted her head, examining Mara closely. "Words are easy. Actions are what matter. I will judge humans by what they can do, not by what they claim." Mara nodded. "Then allow me to demonstrate the potential of collaboration and understanding. Let us begin with the treaty negotiations." Over the next several hours, Mara met with the Queen and her council. The discussions were formal and tense. The aliens were highly logical, valuing efficiency and results above all else. Mara presented human technology, strategies, and cultural insights, trying to show the unique ways humans solved problems. Some council members sneered at her suggestions, dismissing them as naive. Others were intrigued, though wary of admitting it. Among the alien council, Mara noticed a quiet observer, Ethan. Unlike her, he was not a diplomat. He was a human, assigned as part of the delegation, but he seemed different from any human she had met. Ethan was tall, with a calm presence, and his dark eyes seemed to miss nothing. He watched the proceedings with patience, occasionally jotting notes and whispering quiet comments to Mara that revealed clever insights. During a break, Mara approached him. "Ethan, you've been unusually quiet. What do you think of the council?" Ethan smiled faintly. "They are logical, powerful, and a little too confident in their superiority. But logic can be predictable. Humans often see opportunities where others see limits. Watch and wait. Sometimes the smallest move changes everything." Mara felt a surge of admiration. There was something about Ethan that was different. He was not flashy or loud, but there was a quiet intelligence in the way he observed, calculated, and predicted. The days passed, and Mara and Ethan worked closely together. They encountered many challenges, from stubborn council members to alien protocols that seemed designed to frustrate outsiders. Yet, they began to find ways to navigate the system. Mara noticed that the aliens, despite their pride, responded to Ethan's calm, clever interventions. Small victories accumulated, and slowly, the council's skepticism began to waver. One evening, during a ceremonial dinner, the Queen made an unusual announcement. In light of the new cooperation between humans and Zowler, a union will be formed as a symbol of peace. Mara and Ethan exchanged startled glances. The aliens had a tradition of symbolic unions, often arranged to cement alliances. Neither had expected this to involve them directly. The Queen's gaze shifted to Ethan. "You, human, will participate. Your actions have drawn attention. This union will symbolize the bond between your species and mine." Mara felt a mixture of shock and apprehension. Ethan, however, remained calm. "If this is what it takes to show that humans are equal partners, then I accept," he said simply. The ceremony was unlike anything Mara had imagined. The palace was illuminated with floating lights, and alien dignitaries observed with quiet curiosity. Ethan and Mara stood side by side, and the Queen pronounced them united not just as individuals, but as symbols of alliance and trust between humans and Zowler. Afterward, as they walked through the palace gardens, Mara turned to Ethan. "Did you expect this?" Ethan shook his head. "Not at all. But sometimes, the unexpected is exactly what humans are best at handling." Mara laughed softly. There was a strange comfort in his words, a reassurance that they could face whatever came next. As the night sky of Zowler Prime stretched above them, dotted with stars from countless systems, Mara realized that their union was not just symbolic. It was a beginning, a test, and perhaps the start of something greater than either species had imagined. Little did they know, their partnership would soon face trials that would test not only their intelligence and courage, but also the very perception the galaxy held of humanity. The Queen, though outwardly composed, was already watching Ethan with increasing interest, unaware that this unassuming human harbored abilities far beyond what she could imagine. As Mara and Ethan prepared for the next day's council meeting, Mara felt a surge of determination. Humans were underestimated, yes, but underestimated beings often held the greatest power. And Ethan was a reminder of that truth. The palace lights dimmed, leaving only the glow of distant stars. Mara looked at Ethan, standing quietly, his expression unreadable. She wondered what secrets he held, what strategies he had yet to reveal. One thing was certain. The days ahead would not be easy, but together, they might just change the course of history. And somewhere deep within the corridors of the palace, Queen Thalira considered the human beside Mara. He was clever, patient, and fearless in a way that unsettled her. She did not yet understand him, and perhaps that was what made him dangerous or powerful. The first chapter of their story had ended, but the journey was just beginning. Humanity was about to make its mark in the galaxy, and no one, not even the alien queen, was prepared for what would come next. The next morning, Mara awoke to the soft hum of Zowler Prime's city outside her window. Sunlight reflected off the crystal towers, creating a spectrum of colors across the palace walls. She rubbed her eyes and thought of Ethan, who had already left for the council chambers. Unlike her, he slept lightly and moved quietly, blending into the rhythm of the palace life with ease. Mara dressed quickly and made her way to the meeting hall. The chamber was enormous, circular, with a high ceiling that reflected light in ever-changing patterns. The council members were already seated, their many forms and expressions a mixture of skepticism and curiosity. At the center, Queen Thalira observed silently from her throne. Mara noticed the subtle tension in her posture. The queen had begun to take note of Ethan's calm confidence. Ethan was already there, reviewing data on a transparent screen that floated before him. He nodded at Mara when she entered. "Good morning," he said softly. "The council is waiting, but they underestimate what we can do. Let's show them otherwise." Mara smiled. "I hope you're right." The council meeting began with formalities, each member voicing concerns about human involvement in the Empire's affairs. They spoke of humans as fragile, unpredictable, and untested. Ethan remained silent, listening carefully, occasionally tapping his fingers on the screen, analyzing patterns Mara could barely keep up with. Then the discussion turned to the growing threat along the border planets. A rogue alien faction, long discontent with the Queen's rule, had started raiding settlements. The council debated in rapid succession, proposing standard military responses. Mara noticed flaws in every plan. The strategies were rigid, predictable, and would leave the borders vulnerable. Ethan finally spoke. "The enemy is not following patterns we expect. They anticipate standard responses and exploit them. If we continue as planned, we will lose ground and possibly innocent lives." The chamber fell silent. The council looked at him incredulously. "And what would you suggest, human?" one elder demanded. Ethan's dark eyes scanned the data. "We must think differently. Instead of responding to their attacks, we must anticipate them. We can use decoys, misdirection, and targeted strikes at their communication hubs. The goal is not brute force, but disruption of their strategy." A murmur ran through the council. Mara watched closely as some members frowned while others exchanged glances of surprise. This was not the approach they expected from a human, predictable and cautious, yet bold and intelligent. Queen Thalira leaned forward. "Explain your method." Ethan gestured toward the screen. Holographic maps displayed fleets, supply lines, and planetary positions. "We analyze their movements and project multiple possibilities. Each action we take will influence their next decision. If we guide them subtly, we control the battlefield without unnecessary conflict." One council member scoffed. "A human cannot understand the complexities of interstellar warfare. You propose guesswork." Ethan smiled faintly. "Not guesswork. Observation, logic, and adaptation. Humans thrive in uncertainty. That is why we survive." The Queen's golden eyes studied him intently. There was a flicker of something respect, perhaps curiosity. She had expected arrogance or weakness. But here was a human showing composure and insight. After several hours of debate, the Queen allowed Ethan's plan to be tested on a small scale. Mara felt a thrill of anticipation. This was their chance to prove not just human worth, but human ingenuity. The first test came in the form of a minor raid. The rogue faction had attacked a supply station on a nearby planet. Ethan and Mara coordinated with Zowler's fleet, sending small units to create visible decoys while hiding the main forces. Using human strategies of misdirection and speed, they trapped the raiders in a narrow sector of space. Within hours, the attack was thwarted with minimal damage and 0 civilian casualties. News of the success spread quickly. The council members who had doubted Ethan were forced to reconsider. Mara saw whispers and exchanged glances. Some began nodding slightly, as if admitting that humans could indeed offer something new. Yet, not all were convinced. One elder, whose purple skin shimmered with veins of silver, argued, "A single victory does not prove your species' worth. The real test is when we face a large-scale threat. Only then will we see if humans are truly capable." Ethan's calm eyes met the elders. "Then let us prepare for that test. But remember, the larger the threat, the more important adaptability becomes. That is something humans excel at." Over the following days, Mara and Ethan worked tirelessly. They studied the enemy's tactics, analyzed past battles, and predicted the rogue faction's next moves. Ethan's ability to process information quickly and adjust strategies in real time amazed Mara. The human's unpredictability became a strength, a wild card that no alien officer had expected. During this period, Mara began to notice subtle changes in the palace. The queen, once cold and distant, increasingly observed Ethan. Her golden eyes would follow him during briefings, noting how he remained composed, even when the council dismissed his suggestions. Mara could see the seeds of respect forming, though the queen would not admit it aloud. One evening, while reviewing battle data, Ethan spoke quietly to Mara. "They underestimate us because they expect humans to be predictable, to follow simple rules. But we don't. We improvise. We adapt. That is something no alien can fully calculate." Mara nodded. "And it's working. Look at the council, they're starting to listen." Ethan smiled faintly. "They are learning. Slowly. And when the larger challenge comes, they will understand fully. Humans are not the weakest species. We are different. And difference is power." The true test arrived sooner than expected. The rogue faction launched a coordinated assault on a strategic border planet. Entire fleets moved simultaneously, creating chaos in the sector. Zowler's commanders panicked, unsure how to respond to the sheer scale and speed of the attack. Ethan stepped forward, calm as ever. "We don't need to match them ship for ship. We need to outthink them. Follow my lead. And stay flexible. Trust in adaptability." Mara watched in awe as Ethan coordinated human and alien forces. He issued rapid instructions, creating feints, ambushes, and diversionary attacks. Ships moved in patterns that seemed chaotic but were carefully calculated. Mara could barely keep up with his commands, yet she saw the genius in every move. Hours passed, and the battle shifted in Zowler's favor. The rogue faction's formations broke. Their supply lines were disrupted, and their morale began to crumble. Mara realized that Ethan was doing more than giving orders. He was changing the way aliens thought about strategy. Where they relied on rigid logic and overwhelming force, he relied on intuition, observation, and adaptability. Finally, as the last rogue ships retreated, the council erupted into chatter. Many of them looked stunned, some in disbelief. Mara saw the elder who had doubted Ethan earlier, his silver-veined skin now pale with astonishment. Queen Thalira remained seated, her expression unreadable. Mara held her breath, wondering what the queen would say. Then, finally, she spoke. "This human, he has shown ingenuity, courage, and foresight beyond what I expected. He is not weak. He is remarkable." Mara felt a surge of pride. Ethan, the quiet, unassuming human, had not only saved a planet, but had also begun to shift the perception of humanity across the Empire. After the battle, Ethan and Mara returned to the palace. The corridors were quieter now, filled with whispers of admiration and curiosity. Some council members approached Mara, asking about the humans' methods and strategies. Mara smiled, knowing that this was only the beginning. Ethan, as always, remained calm. "They are beginning to see the truth," he said softly. "Humans are not just survivors. We are creators, innovators, and thinkers. That is why we endure." Mara glanced at him, realizing how extraordinary he truly was. Not because of physical strength, nor because of any visible power, but because of his mind, his ability to see possibilities where others saw limits. The queen summoned them that night. Mara felt a mixture of nervousness and anticipation. When they entered the throne room, Queen Thalira's golden eyes regarded them closely. "You have done well," she said finally. "Humans are not what I expected. I underestimated your species, but now I see there is potential here that cannot be ignored." Ethan inclined his head politely. "Thank you, Your Majesty. We seek only to cooperate and contribute. Humans do not seek power for its own sake, but we do rise to meet challenges." The queen studied him, silent for a long moment. "Very well. Let it be known that humans are to be treated as partners. Your actions will be remembered. And your methods studied. Mara felt a thrill of excitement. This recognition was more than personal, it was a victory for all humans. For the first time in Zowler Prime, a human had earned not just respect but trust. As they left the throne room, Mara turned to Ethan. You've changed everything. The Queen now sees us differently. Ethan gave a faint smile. It was never about showing off. It was about solving problems, staying calm, and adapting. That is what humans do best. And the galaxy is finally noticing. Outside, the stars of Zowler Prime shimmered, a reminder that the universe was vast and full of challenges. Mara realized that this was only the beginning. Humans had proven themselves in one battle, but many more trials awaited. Yet with Ethan by her side, and with their combined determination, she felt ready to face anything, and somewhere in the palace, the alien queen reflected on the human beside Mara. He was clever, patient, and fearless in ways she did not yet fully understand. She had seen humans underestimated before. But this human, had forced her to reconsider what strength truly meant. Humanity was beginning to make its mark in the galaxy, and the first real signs of that power had just been revealed. The stars over Zowler Prime were brighter than usual that night, reflecting off the palace towers like scattered diamonds. Mara and Ethan stood on the balcony, looking out at the city below. A soft wind rustled their clothes, carrying with it the hum of alien energy fields and distant engines. The celebration of their recent victory still lingered in the palace, but Mara's mind was on the future. The rogue faction had been pushed back, but she knew their threat was far from over. Ethan, as always, was calm. They will regroup, he said softly, his dark eyes focused on the horizon. And when they do, we need to be ready. The next battle will test more than strength. It will test our thinking, our adaptability. Mara nodded. You make it sound easy, but it won't be. They'll come stronger, smarter, and more ruthless. Ethan's lips curved into a faint smile. And that is exactly why humans succeed. We do not simply react. We anticipate. We adapt. We innovate. That is our real power. The next morning, the council convened again. The mood was tense. Reports had arrived that the rogue faction was mobilizing a fleet larger than any before. The council debated strategies, but their usual methods, overwhelming force, rigid formations, and brute tactics were likely to fail against an enemy who had already proven clever and resourceful. Ethan stood before the chamber, reviewing the data. They are preparing to strike at multiple points simultaneously. If we respond with traditional tactics, we will be outmaneuvered. We need to think differently. There were 5. One elder, still skeptical, sneered. And what do you propose, human? Another guesswork plan? Ethan shook his head. Not guesswork. Pattern recognition, rapid adaptation, and coordination between species. We will use the strengths of each to cover the weaknesses of the others. I will show you exactly how. The council exchanged uneasy glances. But Queen Thalira's golden eyes remained fixed on Ethan. She had begun to see that this human was not just clever, he was extraordinary. The next few days were a whirlwind of preparation. Ethan coordinated human engineers with alien technicians, blending their technologies in ways no one had imagined. Ships were modified to move faster and communicate instantly across vast distances. Humans designed new strategies for rapid deployment, while aliens contributed their firepower and advanced sensors. Mara watched in amazement as Ethan worked tirelessly, his mind moving faster than anyone else in the room. Finally, the day of the battle arrived. The rogue faction's fleet appeared on the sensors, moving swiftly toward Zowler Prime's border planets. Mara felt a mixture of anxiety and anticipation. This was the true test. Ethan stood on the command bridge of the flagship, calm and focused. Remember, he told the officers, do not follow the enemy's expectations. They will try to predict us. We must be unpredictable. Trust in adaptability. The battle began with a flash of energy. Rogue ships swarmed like a living storm, striking multiple targets at once. Traditional tactics failed, as predicted, and the alien officers began to panic. Mara watched as Ethan remained composed, issuing rapid commands. Divide the fleet into 3 groups. 2 will engage directly. 1 will act as decoy. Redirect the sensors to make them believe we are weaker than we are. .com. Lime. The ships responded instantly, moving in complex formations that seemed chaotic but were precisely coordinated. Mara realized that Ethan's true genius was not in giving orders, it was in understanding the battlefield as a living system. He anticipated moves before they happened, adjusting strategy in real time, blending human intuition with alien technology. Hours passed. Mara observed as the tide of battle shifted. The rogue fleet, confident in its superior numbers, fell into the traps Ethan had devised. Communication hubs were disrupted, supply lines severed, and key commanders were isolated. Each victory seemed to multiply, and the rogue forces began to falter. Yet the enemy was clever. They adapted quickly, launching an unexpected maneuver toward the flagship. Mara's heart pounded. If the flagship fell, the battle could be lost. Despite all their planning, she glanced at Ethan, expecting tension or fear. Instead, he was calm, scanning the sensors, calculating options faster than anyone else could. Redirect the interceptor squadrons, he ordered. Use the nebula for cover. Lead them into the gravity well of the nearby planet. They will be forced to scatter or collide. Mara watched in awe as the fleet executed the maneuver perfectly. Rogue ships collided, some were destroyed, and others retreated in disarray. The flagship remained safe. Ethan's eyes never left the displays, his mind always 3 steps ahead. By the time the battle ended, the rogue faction's fleet was in full retreat. Zowler Prime's border planets were safe, and the Council's members were stunned. Some could hardly believe what they had witnessed. Mara looked around at the faces of the alien officers. Skepticism had turned into admiration, and even a sense of awe. Humans had proven themselves in a way no one had expected. Queen Thalira descended to the command bridge, her golden eyes fixed on Ethan. Mara watched, anticipating her reaction. The Queen spoke, her voice measured but carrying an edge of wonder. Human, you have done what few of my species could. You have not only defended our planets but changed the way we understand warfare and strategy. Your abilities are remarkable. Ethan inclined his head respectfully. I do not seek praise, Your Majesty. I seek only to protect, to adapt, and to solve problems. That is what humans do best. The Queen studied him closely. I have underestimated humans for too long. I believed strength was measured in power and size. I see now. It is measured in thought, creativity, and courage. You possess all 3 in abundance. Mara felt a rush of pride. Ethan, the quiet human she had come to respect, had revealed the full scope of his abilities, not through force, but through intellect, adaptability, and composure under pressure. He had turned the battle into a lesson for the entire empire. Humans were not weak. They were exceptional. In the days that followed, Zowler Prime celebrated the victory. But more importantly, humans gained recognition. Mara received messages from various alien factions, requesting collaboration and advice. Human technology, once dismissed, was now studied carefully. Mara watched as Ethan worked tirelessly, teaching and guiding, never boasting, always focused on the next challenge. One evening, Mara found herself alone with him in the observation deck, overlooking the galaxy. Stars stretched endlessly, twinkling like scattered gems. Ethan, she said softly, I've never seen anyone think the way you do. You've changed everything here. Ethan looked at her, eyes reflecting the starlight. Not just me. Humans as a whole. We endure because we adapt. We create solutions when none seem possible. That is our true strength. The galaxy will see it now. Mara smiled. And the Queen? She's starting to understand too. I could see it in her eyes during the battle. She was stunned. in a way I've never seen before. Ethan nodded. Respect is earned through action, not words. Humans have earned it today. And when the rogue faction returns, they will face the full measure of what humans can do. The following weeks were filled with training, planning, and diplomacy. Mara and Ethan worked together to implement new strategies across the Empire. Humans were placed in positions of responsibility previously denied to them. Alien officers began to consult Ethan for advice, often surprised at his calm, inventive solutions. Mara marveled at the change. In just a short time, the perception of humanity had shifted from weak and fragile to clever, resilient, and indispensable. The Queen observed all of this closely. She spent hours studying Ethan, sometimes from a distance, sometimes during council meetings. Her initial skepticism had given way to curiosity, and now to admiration. She had never seen a species like humans unassuming, yet capable of incredible feats of thought and courage. One afternoon, as Mara and Ethan returned from a strategy session, the Queen approached them privately. Her expression was serious, but not unfriendly. Ethan, your actions have opened my eyes. I underestimated humans. And for that, I apologize. You have shown ingenuity, courage, and patience beyond what I imagined possible. You and your species are no longer to be dismissed. Ethan bowed slightly. Thank you, Your Majesty. We seek only to cooperate and protect. Humans thrive when faced with challenges, and we are willing to face them for the sake of peace. The Queen studied him, her gaze intense. I will watch your progress closely. Humanity is now a part of Zowler's future. That is a decision I do not take lightly. Mara felt a thrill of hope. The alliance between humans and Zowler was no longer symbolic. It was real, founded on respect, understanding, and demonstrated capability. Humans had proven themselves in the face of overwhelming odds, and the galaxy had begun to take notice. Ethan, as always, remained calm, already thinking ahead. Mara realized that his true power was not in technology or brute force, but in his mind, the ability to see possibilities, to adapt instantly, and to act decisively. Humanity's potential was limitless, and now the first true steps toward recognition had been taken. As night fell over Zowler Prime, Mara and Ethan stood together, looking out at the stars. The galaxy was vast, full of challenges and threats, but also full of opportunities. With human ingenuity and courage now recognized, the path ahead was bright, and for the first time, Mara truly believed that humanity could shape its destiny among the stars. The rogue faction would return, undoubtedly stronger and more cunning. But with Ethan revealing the true power of humanity, the aliens of Zowler and the Queen herself were learning a lesson they would never forget. Humans were not weak. Humans were remarkable, and the story of their rise had only just begun. The galaxy seemed to hold its breath. After weeks of planning, strategy, and small victories, the final confrontation with the rogue faction had arrived. Mara and Ethan stood aboard the flagship of Zowler Prime's fleet, surrounded by officers and ships prepared for battle. The stakes had never been higher. Mara could feel the tension in the air, yet Ethan remained calm, his dark eyes scanning the sensors with steady focus. This is it, Mara said quietly, standing beside him. The fleet is ready, but the enemy is larger and more experienced than ever. I hope we're ready for this. Aeon-C. Aeon-C. We've going to wither. To-on-C. Aeon-C. To-on-C. Aeon-C. Aeon-C. Ethan nodded. We are ready. Not because of numbers or firepower, but because of thought, adaptation, and teamwork. The enemy may be strong, but they cannot anticipate human ingenuity. Mara smiled. I hope you're right. The rogue fleet appeared on the sensors, a massive formation stretching across the void like a dark cloud. Their numbers were overwhelming, and Mara's stomach tightened. Yet Ethan's calm demeanor was contagious. He issued orders with quiet authority, dividing the fleet into multiple task forces mixing human and alien ships in unexpected formations. Keep the enemy guessing, he instructed. Use decoys, rapid maneuvers, and targeted strikes at critical points. Do not waste energy on minor targets. Focus on communication hubs, supply lines, and their command ships. The battle began with a flash of energy as rogue ships fired upon the outer defense stations. Mara watched the fleet respond, moving with precision that reflected Ethan's strategy. At first, the enemy seemed to gain the upper hand, striking hard and fast. Mara's heart pounded, but she trusted Ethan. He had already proven that humans excel in chaos, and she knew he would turn the tide. Hours passed, and slowly, the battle began to shift. Ethan's plan unfolded perfectly. The enemy was lured into traps, their formations broken, their movements anticipated. Mara could see the intelligence behind each maneuver, human creativity guiding alien technology. Blending strength with cunning, rogue ships collided, some destroyed by precision strikes, others forced to retreat. Queen Thalira observed from her command deck, her golden eyes wide with astonishment. She had seen Ethan at work before, but now, facing the full scale of the enemy fleet, she realized the true extent of human potential. Humans were not simply survivors, they were innovators, problem solvers, and leaders. Impossible, she whispered, more to herself than anyone else. No species could do this, except humans. The rogue fleet, sensing the collapse of their strategy, attempted a final desperate move, a concentrated assault on the flagship. Mara froze for a moment, her mind racing. If the flagship fell, the entire battle could be lost. But Ethan, as always, remained calm. Redirect the interceptors, he commanded. Use the nebula for cover. Lead them into the gravitational anomaly near the planet. They will have no choice but to scatter. Mara watched in awe as the fleet executed the maneuver flawlessly. Rogue ships collided, some destroyed, others disoriented, giving Zowler Prime the upper hand. The flagship remained safe, and the enemy formation fell apart completely. Hours later, the battle was over. The rogue faction was defeated, their fleet in retreat, their plans foiled. Mara felt a rush of relief and pride. Humans had not only survived, they had triumphed, showing courage, intelligence, and adaptability beyond what the aliens had ever imagined. Queen Thalira approached Ethan personally after the battle. Her expression was serious but impressed. Human, you have done what few could. You have saved planets, lives, and the honor of this empire. Your species has proven itself beyond doubt. Ethan bowed slightly. Thank you, Your Majesty. We do not seek glory. Humans respond to challenges. We protect and adapt. And in doing so, we find solutions where others might fail. The Queen studied him closely, her golden eyes reflecting admiration. I underestimated humans for too long. Not in strength, but in thought, courage, and creativity. Your species is remarkable. I see now that humans are not only survivors, but true partners in the galaxy's future. Mara felt a thrill of pride. Ethan had done more than win a battle. He had changed the perception of humanity across the Empire. Humans were no longer weak outsiders, they were valued allies, respected for their intellect, bravery, and adaptability. In the weeks that followed, Zowler Prime celebrated the victory. But more importantly, humanity's place in the galaxy was secured. Mara and Ethan traveled to border worlds, coordinating reconstruction, ensuring peace, and sharing human strategies with alien leaders. Mara watched as humans were treated not as inferior species, but as equals, consulted for advice, and invited to participate in decisions that shaped the future of entire planets. Ethan remained humble throughout. He focused on teaching, guiding, and helping the aliens understand the human way of thinking. His calm intelligence inspired others, and Mara often marveled at how effortlessly he led without demanding recognition. One evening, as Mara and Ethan returned to the palace after a long day, Mara spoke quietly. Ethan, You've changed everything here. The Queen, the Council, the Empire itself. They see humans differently now. Ethan smiled faintly. It was never about proving ourselves. Humans have always survived and thrived because we adapt and think beyond what others expect. Today, the galaxy is seeing what we have always known. Our strength is not just in action, but in thought, courage, and creativity. Mara nodded. And the Queen. She's beginning to respect us. In ways I never thought possible. Ethan's eyes reflected the stars above. Respect is earned through action. Humans have earned it. Now, we continue forward, not as outsiders, but as partners in shaping the future. The Queen summoned them to the palace shortly after. Her golden eyes were sharp but thoughtful. Mara. Ethan, she said, her voice measured. Your actions have proven that humans are a vital part of this empire. I have observed your strategy, your composure, and your innovation. Humanity is no longer underestimated. You have earned a place not only in Zowler Prime, but in the future of our galaxy. Mara felt a surge of pride. Ethan's unassuming nature had carried them through immense challenges. His calm intelligence, adaptability, and courage had reshaped the perception of humans. For the first time, humans were seen not as fragile outsiders, but as remarkable beings capable of leadership and ingenuity. Ethan inclined his head respectfully. Thank you, Your Majesty. We seek only to contribute to peace and understanding. Humans rise to challenges, and in doing so, we help others see what is possible. The Queen nodded slowly. Then let it be known throughout the Empire. Humans are equals. Their abilities, their creativity, and their courage are now recognized and valued. I will ensure that your species has a voice in all future decisions. Mara looked at Ethan, her heart full of admiration and hope. Together, they had faced impossible odds, outsmarted the rogue faction, and proven humanity's true strength. The galaxy had witnessed it, and nothing would ever be the same. Over the following weeks, humans were integrated more fully into Excelor society. Human advisors worked alongside alien commanders, sharing strategies and perspectives that had once been dismissed. Alien engineers studied human innovations, marveling at their practicality and creativity. Mara watched as the perception of humanity transformed not through force, but through intellect, courage, and ingenuity. One evening, Mara and Ethan stood together on the palace balcony, looking out at the galaxy. Stars stretched endlessly, a reminder of both challenges and opportunities. Mara turned to Ethan. Do you realize what we've done? Humans are finally seen for what we really are. Ethan smiled faintly, eyes reflecting the starlight. We have shown them our true strength. It is not in brute power, but in thinking, in adapting, and in courage. That is humanity's legacy. And this is just the beginning. The galaxy had changed. Humanity had proven itself to be clever, resilient, and indispensable. The rogue faction had been defeated. The Empire had recognized human potential, and a new era of cooperation and respect had begun. Queen Thalira, once skeptical, now observed humans with genuine interest and admiration. She had seen what few had expected, that an unassuming human could outthink, outmaneuver, and lead in ways that reshaped entire worlds. Mara realized that this partnership, this alliance, was more than political. It was a testament to what humans could achieve when underestimated and challenged. And with Ethan by her side, she knew that the future of humanity in the galaxy was bright. The stars above Zowler Prime glimmered, as if acknowledging the change. Humanity had stepped onto the stage of the galaxy, not as weak outsiders, but as equal partners, capable of shaping the course of history. And for the first time, Mara felt that nothing, not even the vastness of space or the cunning of enemies, could stand in their way. Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder, his calm presence reassuring. The galaxy is full of challenges, Mara. But humans have shown that we can meet them. And now, the universe knows what we are capable of. Mara smiled, looking out at the stars. Yes, and together, we will continue to rise. The story of humanity's triumph was complete for now, but the adventure was far from over. Humans had revealed their true power, and the galaxy would never underestimate them again. Their legacy was just beginning, and the stars themselves seemed to whisper of the greatness yet to come.